there's some cars that sometimes we see quite often, maybe not exactly the same, but they're similar. Now these Apollos are ones that you don't see very often, and we've done some homework, and to our research thus far, it appears that this will be the first Apollo Spider that's ever been sold at public auction. And when you look at the design, you've got this Italian coachwork, American power, and certainly the collectability and value of some of its counterparts are very familiar with. I think that this car exceeds in terms of its look. It's got a sexiness to it, and the driving experience is incredible. And I hope that a lot of folks get a chance to come and really enjoy that experience and pay close attention to all these cars, but especially this one. And I know you guys have driven it certainly more than I have, but just tell us a little bit about what it's like to drive this car.
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, it's a really good question, John. As part of my duties with International Motor Cars was to set up a dealer network. So I had the opportunity, extremely unique opportunity, to drive these cars, this one specifically, down Highway 1 from Northern California, San Francisco over to Half Moon Bay, then south. So if you want to drive a sports car in an area of the United States, particularly if it's late at night or there's no traffic, Highway 1 is exhilarating. And it puts the car through the most severe tests of handling, braking, etc. And by the way, on my trip south, many of these were to deliver cars, right? Mm-hmm. Pat Boone, you mentioned earlier in the off-camera conversation, was one of the lucky owners of an Apollo, and so and it was the only one we ever built with white wall, Brawny wires with white wall Pirelli tires. But Pat Boone had white bucks, so it was a very big deal. So I got to drive his car, but so was a pre-delivery. And so if there were anything wrong with it, normally that long run, it's about 300 and some miles, that defect might appear, hopefully it would appear, and a couple of them did, but nonetheless, Pat, I don't know, he may still have the car, I'm not sure, but I know he raves about his experiences with the Apollo. The handling characteristic, this is a 3.5 liter aluminum block, aluminum head engine manufactured by Buick. Has a Borg-Warner T10 4-speed, which is the same one used in Corvettes. And it has a Buick live axle with a suspension that was engineered by Milt Brown. Disc brakes from an Avanti up front. The number one Apollo did not have disc brakes. It had drums, but nonetheless, we moved. Bendix and Studebaker got together and they put the disc brakes on the Avanti. So we thought it was a great thing. We added that during the production of the car. But so stopping, handling, beautiful. Weight distribution was like a little bit light in the front. It was about 45, 55. And that's probably because of the aluminum engine and it didn't have a ton of weight on it. When Buick dropped this after about 18 of the 3500 GT Apollos, they shifted to a 5-liter cast iron block aluminum head engine, which had, right behind you sits number 54 with that engine, changed the aerodynamics because of the weight, so you wouldn't get that front end lift with like the Panteras. You could almost take off at 150 virtually. And these guys would go, 140, 150 miles an hour. That one behind you would 160, 165. Kind of scary, but nonetheless, a very exhilarating experience. So you've driven them, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And what do you think?
Very impressive car. Milt worked out all the little chassis ills from the American cars, and very impressive car to drive. Lots of power. I think they weigh in at about 2,300 pounds, and with a 300 or 310 horse lightweight V8 in them, They move along really well and they handle beautifully. One of the writers for one of the sports car magazines back then, Denise McCluggage,
Yeah, right, she's a great writer.
did an extensive article on them, and she couldn't speak highly enough, and I agree.
And she was an accomplished SCCA driver. I mean, she was a sports car driver of some great note. One of the only women out there, by the way, just blowing the doors off of